Here's the most important thing I want anyone to get. If a doctor said that you're pre-diabetic from your blood work, or if you know people in your family are have type 2 diabetes, go and get a glucose meter. Get that, and then learn how the food that you're eating impacts your blood. My name is Sarah, and I am doing this video. I want it to be... I've really been struggling with what I want this video to be, what I want, why am I doing this? This probably will be a one-take thing. My name is Sarah, and I'm making this video to record my journey, my thoughts, what has worked for me. Hi, my name is Sarah, and you're either watching this video because you know me personally and you're interested in how I'm doing and what I've been doing, etc., or you have no idea who I am. You just stumbled upon this video because you're in the similar situation. I'm doing this video for the second group of people. I have been searching and searching and watching YouTube videos for people in similar circumstances to myself, and so I thought I should also document what I've been doing because I have been losing weight. My blood sugar is improving every day. So why am I doing this video? Because I want to record my progress, because I want to share the information that I've found that may be helpful to someone else, because maybe it'll keep me more accountable to myself. So what have I been doing? What is my... Okay, so there's the who, what, when, where, why, how kind of thing. I'm going to try to keep this brief, though it's not looking like that's a possibility. Okay, so I'm 44 years old. I have my youngest son is going to be 18 in March. It's currently September, so he's 17 and 3/4. My oldest daughter is, my oldest child, she's a girl, is 22 in July. Is that right? 94. Hold on. She's 22 and was in 22 in July. And I have been morbidly obese for all of my son's life. I haven't always been morbidly obese. I'll show pictures at the end of what I looked like whenever I got married to my husband. This is not... If you have found this video and are watching it, it's because you were searching for tips or tricks or someone else's journey in a similar situation. I'm making the video because I was searching for those kinds of videos, and I found some things that have helped me that I have implemented in my life, and I'm seeing some positive results. And I'm early in my journey, and I thought it would be a good idea to record it so that I can see my progress, help myself to be more accountable, and maybe give some encouragement to someone else in my situation who's in a similar situation. Or you're someone who knows me personally and you want to find out, what I'm up to, what I've been doing, etc. So I'm going to try to keep it short. If there's interest in what I have to say and people leave questions that need answers, then obviously I will expand upon those in future videos. But my goal right now, my personal goal right now, is to share some of the information that I found in doing research and to record my progress. Maybe it'll accountable. I'm probably going to say that word over and over again because I haven't been accountable to myself, and I have allowed myself to, I've been calling them rewards, reward myself, but it's really cheats, cheat meal, etc. And I think that might not be a very good thing, and I want to remember that I don't think that's a good thing. Whenever I need some fortitude. So, why would you be watching this video? I am on a journey to get my blood sugar under control. I was for years pre-diabetic. Years and years and years pre-diabetic. And then, this is September of 2017. In May of 2017, I finally inched over the line, and the words "you're diabetic" were spoken. And it literally tripped something in my brain. And so I began doing some research. I have known for years and years and years and years and years and years and years that I was not eating correctly, that I was not exercising enough. When I was in my late teens and early 20s, I exercised 5 to 7 days a week. I'm not going to say I ate healthy, because what I was doing was low fat, and I don't believe that is necessarily the healthiest way to eat. But with the exercise, I maintained a healthy weight, and I didn't have any, medical issues, so to speak, that I know of. I don't know that I was actually tracking. When you only weigh 120 pounds and you don't have any reason to go to the doctor and for them to say, oh, let's do blood tests because we know you've got to be ill. Basically, every time I've been to the doctor in the last 20 years, they have tried to find something wrong with me. And for 20 years, there's been nothing wrong with me except for, in the last 10 years, you're inching closer to the line where you're going to be in that category. So for many, 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 many years, though, there was absolutely nothing. And then in the last 5 years specifically, I know that my cholesterol has been higher than is what is normal or healthy. My blood sugar, or the blood test that they would do for diabetes would show it's at A1C, I believe. My A1C would be like 6.49, and the cutoff is 6.5. And it was lower than that, but it's been inching up closer to 6.5. Well, in May of this year, 2017, it finally went to 6.7, and I got the call that said, okay, you're diabetic now. It's like they were waiting for me to be diabetic. So I've had plenty of time to know that what I was doing to my body wasn't good. But I've said I'm choosing to eat what tastes good because I like it, and I'm still healthy. My body hasn't rebelled against me. I knew there would be a time whenever I couldn't do that anymore, and so this time has come. I hope that this is not too confusing. I really want to try to be clear and concise. I am really good at doing research, so in May, my brain, they said, you're diabetic, and I said, oh no, I'm not. I know that type 2 diabetes can be reversed. I've seen people do it. I know that even people who are in their 70s can start exercising and become bodybuilders. I knew that there would be a time and that I would need to make a change. And when they said, you're diabetic, I said in my brain, no, I'm not. I'm not going to be that. I'm not going to do that. So I research things a lot. And so whenever I got that diagnosis, I started doing research. And I'll tell more about my story in future videos. But right now, the thing that I've been searching for on YouTube is, how do I reverse my diabetes? How do I reverse type 2 diabetes? How do I quickly and effectively and permanently change that situation? That's what started this. And I remembered in that journey of looking for how to reverse diabetes, type 2 diabetes, the fatty liver kept coming up. And I remembered many years ago, I can't even remember how long it's been, many, many years ago, I think it was probably whenever they were doing, looking for gallstones, that they said, oh, by the way, you have a fatty liver. Okay, so for years I've been pre-diabetic, and oh, by the way, you have a fatty liver. And none of my healthcare professionals gave me any real information or suggestions on how to, number one, on what that meant for my body and my future, and number two, how to change it. It's, I am morbidly obese, and I'm going to put my stats in the information box, because that's one thing in all of the videos that I've been watching. People don't tell you how much they weigh. They don't tell you how much they've lost. They don't give you that information, and I think it's important. So that information is down below. I'm going to weigh myself every Monday, and I went and got a scale that measures bone mass and BMI and that kind of stuff, and I'm going to include all of that information. I want to be able to see the progress that I'm making or that I'm not making, and I want others to be able to say, hey, she's the same size I am, or oh, that's what I was, or she's worse than I am, whatever. But I lost my train of thought, which is going to happen often. Sorry. So, fatty liver, pre-diabetic. Here's the most important thing I want anyone to get, and I probably will say it over and over again. If you've been labeled pre-diabetic, or if you know that diabetes is something that your family tends to lean towards, my mom, my aunt, which is my mom's sister, my grandma, all take insulin. But it's type 2, and they've done it for years. And I know that it's preventable. If somebody has said that to you, if a doctor said that you're pre-diabetic from your blood work, or if you know people in your family have type 2 diabetes, go to someplace like Walmart. I'm not promoting Walmart. This is where I found mine the cheapest, and get a glucose meter. Walmart sells the Rely On Prime meter for $9.99, and they sell glucose test strips. You can get them 25 for $5. It's 50 for $9, etc. Get that, and then learn how the food that you're eating impacts your blood. Do that now. You may not be pre-diabetic. There may not be any diabetes in your family, but if that is something that, if you want to know how food is affecting your body, that is a tool that you need. I wish that someone had said, go and buy a $9 meter or $10 meter and some test strips and take your blood before you eat and after you eat. I think that right before you eat is fine, and then I think that either 1 to 2 hours after you eat. It's not perfect, but it'll at least tell you how the food you're eating is impacting your blood, because it does. Everything that you eat will either have a positive or negative or neutral impact, but those foods can affect people more dramatically or less dramatically, and you need to know. So do that. When they said, okay, now you're diabetic, we're going to call in a prescription for a meter and test strips, and we want you to test 3 times a day. So I got the meter, it was free, but the blood test strips were $40 for 50 strips, and they wanted me to test 2 to 3 times a day, at least. And so 50 strips for $40, that wasn't even going to last 30 days. I'm like, I cannot afford that. I cannot afford that. I didn't know what to do. And it wasn't until my mom, who's had type 2 diabetes for years, she mentioned that her meter had malfunctioned, and she went and got a replacement meter at the store. I'm like, wait, you can do that? And she said, yeah, that hers was, X amount of dollars, which was much cheaper than what I was spending for these strips. So I went and I got the $10 meter and the package of $5 strips. And for a little while, I was using both meters to test my blood. I would run them both at the same time so I could see that if the cheaper meter was reliable. And it turned out that it was actually more reliable than the expensive meter that I was using just from that testing. So I have since switched to that, and I use that. At first I was doing blood sugar testing more frequently. I would do it before I ate and after I ate so that I could figure out what foods, which is what I'm suggesting that you do. And now I do it in the morning and the evening. And then, so that's the number one thing I would say. If you don't get anything else out of this video, go and buy a glucose meter. They're usually in near the pharmacy section of the store, but an employee can help you. And it doesn't have to be an expensive one. It doesn't have to be a fancy one. I know for a fact that the most or the least expensive one can work just fine. So they tell me in May. Actually, there's a kind of a series of events that happened at the beginning of May. A co-worker. She actually started at the beginning of the year, but in May I noticed that I could see her weight she looked like she was like melting off pounds. And so I had been asking her what she'd been doing, and the only thing that she had been doing, 2 things actually, but the biggest thing was she had stopped eating sugar. That one dietary change, and then she had increased her, she had started to walk for exercise, make it a point to walk. But she wasn't as consistent with the exercise, but she was consistent with not eating sugar. And I saw that the weight was just melting off. And so that was at the beginning of May. About mid-May, I decided that, if I just stop drinking sweet tea from McDonald's, which I never drank full sweet tea. It was always half and half because it was too sweet. But if I just stopped drinking sugared drinks, maybe I could lose a few pounds. And I did. I lost, I think it was 5 pounds in 14 days. So then at the 14-day mark, approximately, was when I had my fasting blood draw. And it's because I had been started doing research. You know what? How did that happen? Actually, I think I had started doing research on weight loss prior to my blood test, because when I did my blood test, I had been fasting, and I had just been reading how fasting was so good for controlling health. And so I decided then to go ahead and start fasting, and it was before I got my results. Is that right? Hang on, I'm sorry. That in the beginning or the middle of May, I stopped drinking sugar. I lost 5 pounds. They did the blood test, and it was diabetic. Okay, so then I was doing research. We were going to do a retest at the 3-month mark. So it was at 3 months, the end of or mid to late August, that I actually started the intermittent fasting. So I got the diabetic diagnosis, and I did research and research and research and research and research and research, and I had stopped eating sugar and flour and white stuff, no pasta. Every once in a while, I would have a bite of something, but I was really, really, really very good at that point about what I was eating, and for what the information that I had. Basically, when I said, okay, I'm diabetic now, what do you want me to do? She said, stop eating flour and anything made of flour, white flour. Don't eat pasta, don't eat sugar. And so I stopped doing that. And along with not drinking any more tea, at that point, I didn't lose any weight after that. I lost like 5 pounds from not drinking any sugar, but I didn't lose any more weight. But my blood sugar seemed to be under control. Here's another thing. Whenever they said you're diabetic, we're going to call in the glucose meter and you're going to start taking this metformin medication. And so, as a good patient, I took the metformin as prescribed, and it messed my stomach up. It was horrible. So I took 2 doses, I think, and then my stomach revolted and my bowels revolted, and it was just not good. And I'm like, nope, I have to stop taking this. I can't do it anymore. That was about Labor Day. The doctor was out, and so I told the nurse, I said, this is making me really, 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 really not feel good, and I can't stay out of the bathroom. I can't take this. And she said, that's fine, stop taking it. The doctor's not in over the holiday, so we'll just revisit it later. So almost from the very beginning of my diagnosis for diabetes, my management was only with food. And so I noticed that, like I said, before and after meals and things, I noticed which really bothered me. Baked potato, skyrocket. When I say skyrocket, my numbers weren't that high. They would be like 120 consistently, but in the evenings it would be around the 100 mark or even a little bit lower, but the baked potato caused it to go up to, I think, 167, which was not, I knew 100's the like magic number. I knew that was way too high, so no more baked potatoes. So I learned which foods were triggers. I didn't lose any weight, but I was controlling my blood sugar by not eating sugar, flour, pasta, processed foods. I increased my vegetable intake and fruits. I increased my fruits and vegetables, and was doing research. So I came across intermittent fasting. In my research, I was looking, in the research for diabetes, I discovered a thing called insulin resistance. And in the research I was doing, fatty liver, insulin resistance, it's all connected. And so when I had to go in August, I think it was like the 23rd of August. I can't remember. I'll try to put the date in here, but whatever day it was, I had to fast for my blood test. And I made the decision because at the doctor's office while I was getting my blood drawn, because I had to wait for the doctor, and then they ended up being, well, we have to do this test tomorrow, not today. And so I had fasted for nothing, because I was doing it for my blood test. But then I decided, I'm hearing a lot about this intermittent fasting. Since I've already fasted for 12 hours, why don't I try it? So I started then that day with the plan of doing a 16/8 intermittent fast. And also with my research, I had, it's called the ketogenic diet, which is high fat, very, very low carb, and moderate protein. So I'm like, I'm going to intermittent fast, do a 16/8, and then I will incorporate more of this ketogenic. I'll try to do ketogenic diet, because from what I had seen, it was really good for controlling blood sugar. Basically, carbs and blood sugar, they just don't mix, and I had seen that to be true with the foods and etc. So I got my blood results back, and this was just from monitoring or cutting out sugar and carbs, I had gone down to 6.0. So all of a sudden, you're not diabetic anymore. Now, this was just a couple weeks ago. Today is September 12th. And I think that I got those results back. I finally got them back on September 4th, I want to say. And so my blood sugar was under control. I was no longer considered diabetic. But what she didn't say is, but you're still in the pre-diabetic stage. So I know from recording my history, every 6 months I had to have my blood drawn. So in May, 6 months prior to May, my blood sugar was 6.49. And then in May, when they did the blood test, it was 6.7. And then when they did the retest at 3 months, it was 6.0. Now you would think, 6.0, I'm cured, quote unquote, or in remission, whatever. But that's not the case. That's not the case. Pre-diabetes is, I think, I want to say 4.5 to 5.5. No, 4.5 to 6.5. I'll put the numbers on the screen. But in any case, I was still in the warning range. But whenever they said, okay, you're no longer diabetic, she never, ever, ever said, keep continuing to maintain the diet that you're doing. Keep checking your blood sugars to make sure that you're staying on track. It was like, okay, you're fine now. And that's not good. That's not right. So my second piece of advice, and I'm going to end it soon, is know what the levels mean. Know what the normal range is. Know what the cutoffs are. I am morbidly obese, and I know that because my BMI is in that category. I am pre-diabetic because I know that because I know what the number range is. I was diabetic because I know what the number range is. Just when you get your blood work done, ask them what your numbers are. And then find out what the good range is, what the healthy range is. That is, so get yourself a glucose meter. And even if you're perfectly healthy, do it. Because skinny people, or if you think you're perfectly healthy, skinny people can get diabetes. It's not just a fat person's condition. And then have your blood tested and know what it means. It's better to be forewarned and forearmed than to have to come around behind and try to battle it. So I'm going to leave this here. I've actually been doing what's called OMAD, 1 meal a day, because when I try to do 16-8, I'm eating at noon every day. And when I eat at noon, I end up being full until about 6, 7, 8 o'clock, and that's my 8-hour window. And so I'm not going to go ahead and eat just because I'm kind of maybe hungry, or it's my eating window is done. And so for me, it's naturally progressed almost immediately to 1 meal a day, but I'm still doing the 16-8 because if I get hungry, and it's not 8 o'clock yet, then I will go ahead and have something. It's just if I feel like I need it. And I've only done that a few times because I don't feel like I need it. I make sure that I get enough fats and enough proteins and keep my carbs low. I will insert here at the end a screenshot. I downloaded a ketogenic diet tracker app because the FitnessPal app, if I put the fat that I'm eating in and the carbohydrates, it wants it to be flip-flopped. It wants me to have high carbohydrates and low fat. That's the other thing. The American Diabetes Association wants you to eat way more carbs than what the body should be able to tolerate if you are insulin resistant. It's crazy. It is a loop. I wouldn't trust that American Diabetes Association at all. I would not trust them at all because they say eat these amount of carbs and then you'll have to take your insulin and then you'll have to eat these amount of carbs to bring it back up again because the medicine brought your insulin down. Whatever. It's confusing. I know. I'm sorry. I'm not getting that right. But and I'm not saying do the ketogenic diet. I am not saying do a ketogenic diet. I'm saying that's what I chose to do because of the research, and I will talk more about that in another video if anyone wants to know about it. But what I am saying is that carbohydrates and type 2 diabetes don't go well together. So do some research and figure out what diet what way of eating works for you. Right now I am down 11 pounds from doing high fat, low carb. I'm not actually doing ketogenic. It's probably more Atkins because I cannot get my carbs that low. I do not believe that it's healthy to never eat fruit and to not eat some vegetables. I think if God made it, we should be able to eat it. He made it for us, then it's what we need to eat. Not processed sugars, not processed stuff. He didn't make those. We made those. So I do eat more carbs because of vegetables have carbs, and I cut way back on my fruit, but I do have some fruit because if eating no fruit ever again is the way to go, I don't feel like that's right. I don't want it to be right. I don't want that to be the case. Right now, I'm recording this because I'm still in the learning process. I'm still in the process of tweaking my diet. And I don't want to not be able to eat fruit ever again. I don't eat excessive amounts of fruit. I am talking about maybe 1 apple a day or half of a mango a day. That's, if my body can't process that, then fine, but I'm not at the point where I'm willing to admit that yet. So I'm going to insert some pictures of me when I was much thinner and quote-unquote healthy. No idea if I really was or not. And I'm going to include snapshots of my meals, and so you can see the numbers, and then I'll have my stats below. And I don't know if I'll get back on here and do rambly stuff again, but if I end up getting people with questions, or if there's something important I feel it needs to be shared, I will share it. So basically, I just want to say one more time, go get a blood glucose meter. You can spend as much as you want, but it's $10 a pump, or $10 meter, and the strips that go with them. It could end up saving you a lot of money in healthcare in the end. Do some research on how carbohydrates affect blood sugar, and I would suggest that you do some research on intermittent fasting. And I would also suggest that you stop eating sugar, that you stop eating processed foods. No more Twinkies, no more cupcakes, no more ice cream. Just stop eating those things. If you don't stop eating them, cut back on them. I am a firm believer on everything. I mean, you don't have to stop eating anything, but you do have to understand that what you're eating has to have a consequence. So, yeah. Please let me know if this video has been helpful to you in any way, or if you have any other questions.